The drama surrounding the potential clash between Jake Paul and Francis Ngannou, or more accurately, the collapse of what could have been a massive crossover fight, has blown up into one of the most tangled sagas in recent combat sports memory. What began as a spectacle designed for clicks and pay-per-views has become something else entirely, a reflective moment on what boxing is, who gets to call themselves a fighter, and how much of this is really sport versus show. It all started when Jake's original opponent, Gervonta Tank Davis, found himself pulled from his scheduled fight due to mounting legal issues, and that vacancy sent Jake's team scrambling, sowing the seeds for what could either be his biggest opportunity yet or perhaps a spectacular misstep. When the Davis fight fell apart, promoters and fans began speculating about who might step into that slot, and Francis Ngannou's name kept surfacing. The logic on paper was dramatic. Jake, the internet-born boxer phenomenon, versus Francis, a heavyweight with legitimate punch power and mixed martial discipline. But when Francis was approached, the story turned on its head. He didn't see this as a payday. He saw it as a mismatch and an insult. The offer made him shake his head. The idea that Jake could just sub in as if this were another influencer event rubbed the former UFC champion the wrong way. Now the buzz isn't about who wins the fight, it's about what it says that the fight even existed. Casual fans might mistake this for just another fight announcement gone sour, but inside it lays a fault line of authenticity. Jake has built a brand on spectacle, big entrances, big talk, big numbers. He sold arenas and stacked cards, but the question rising now is whether he's fighting real fighters or simply performers in the boxing show. Francis, on the other hand, comes from a legacy of real combat sports. He's not just playing for social media. He's carrying a career that spans heavyweight titles and a reputation built on power and focus. For him to even entertain the idea of fighting Jake felt like diluting what he's built. He wasn't interested in the payday if it stripped him of his fight cred. Meanwhile, voices from inside the sport have chimed in with piercing critique. Some regard Jake's matchmaking as exploitative. Tiny guys versus big guys, YouTubers versus professionals. Battles less about boxing craft and more about spectacle. Francis's rejection wasn't just a no thanks, it was a moral stance, a refusal to allow the sport to morph into something unrecognizable. On the other side, Jake's team kept floating names like Ryan Garcia or Terrence Crawford as replacements, hints dropped like breadcrumbs. They know the numbers still play, they know attention is still attention. But the optics are changing. Fans are asking not just who's fighting, but why. And then there's another layer altogether, the legend layer. Mike Tyson loomed into the conversation, not just as another name, but as a looming standard. Francis has trained with Tyson, learned under his wing, and sees himself in a lineage of unquestioned killers in the ring. It gave his no to Jake extra weight. When Tyson weighed in and said a fight like Jake versus Francis made financial sense but lacked competitive legitimacy, it stirred the pot further. Suddenly, we weren't just asking if Jake could beat Francis. We were asking if Jake could ever transform into something more than an internet novelty, if he could step into the machine of boxing and not just check the box. The business side of it is staggering too. Millions of promotion dollars, streaming rights, tickets overseas, they were all in motion for the Davis fight. Now the cancellation, the shuffle, the uncertainty, they underscore the fragility underlying what had felt like unstoppable growth. When a single fighter's legal problem can ripple through an entire scheduled event, it lays bare how dependent the scene is on image, approval, and a facade of legitimacy. And when a seasoned fighter refuses a short-notice match because it erodes his value, it shows a players versus platform tension etched deep into modern combat. But what does this all mean for the sport itself? At root, what qualifies you as real in boxing today? Jake has answered that he can sell fights, gather eyeballs, orchestrate events. But many purists, Francis among them, say that doesn't make you a boxer. It makes you a promoter. It makes you a spectacle. And in a world where a fight's weight difference, skill difference, experience difference can be extreme, there's tension between commerce and competition, between brand and belt. So where do we go from here? For Jake, the window still glows. A new fight, a fresh opponent, a chance to reinvent. But without the right opponent, it could feel hollow. For Francis, the moment affirms something deeper. His fight career isn't for social media validation. It's for legacy, for truth, for clarity. And for the sport watching, we're left to wonder, When does boxing become too far removed from its roots? When does the chase for numbers overshadow the clash of skill? In the end, this saga isn't about one fight. It's about identity. It's about what happens when boxing takes a detour into entertainment and what happens when fighters push back. It's about the weight of history, the pull of spectacle, and the question of value. What matters more, the knockout punch or the name on the ledger? Francis said he wasn't interested. Jake said he was ready, but the sport itself is still waiting for the finale chapter. What do you think? Should Jake Paul step into the ring with Francis Ngannou, or does this kind of matchup do more harm than good to boxing's integrity? Hit the like button if you're tuned into this drama, subscribe for deeper breakdowns, and drop your thoughts in the comments, because this story is far from over and you won't want to miss what happens next.